Hello, this is Nathan Carlson, president of 24hourflex.com, coming to you from the 24-Hour Flex studios. And this is the second session of Simple Cafeteria Plans. If you haven't watched part one, I encourage you to do that. As I mentioned in part one, Simple Cafeteria Plans are first effective for plan years beginning after December 31st of 2010, i.e. January 1st, 2011 for calendar year plans. These Simple Cafeteria Plans are for small employers, which Congress designates as anyone who generally has less than 101 employees in either of the two preceding calendar years. So, for example, if we're looking at 2011, we would look to 2010 and 2009. In either of those 2 years, did you employ on average less than 101 employees? The Simple Cafeteria Plan is also for small new employers that were not in existence throughout the preceding calendar year and reasonably expect to employ an average of less than 101 employees in the current year. And the plan is for small growing employers. These are employers that already maintain a Simple Cafeteria Plan but employed less than 200 employees in the prior calendar year. Obviously, this provision won't apply until after 2011. But it is important that an employer who is growing install a Simple Cafeteria Plan prior to crossing that 101 employee threshold. And if they do, then they can keep it until they have over 200 employees in the prior calendar year. The Simple Cafeteria Plan must benefit employees that meet eligibility requirements. And I explain these eligibility requirements in a PDF handout that's available on our website, and you can download that. The Cafeteria Plan requires an employer contribution. It's one of two forms. Either it's a match, which is 100% match up to 6% of pay, or a 2% contribution. So let's take a look at a couple of examples. An employer match example where the employee has compensation of $40,000. The employee medical FSA election is $2,000. In this case, the employer match is going to be the lesser of 100% of $2,000 or 6% of $40,000. In that case, the match would be $2,000, since 6% of $40,000 is $2,400. You can also set up a Simple Cafeteria Plan with a 2% contribution. Here's an example of how that would work. Same concept. The employee has $40,000. The employee is deferring $2,000 into the medical FSA. The employer contribution would be 2% of $40,000 or $800. I want to point out that the employee medical FSA or daycare FSA election is not relevant to this calculation. It's simply 2% of his gross W-2 wages. The Simple Cafeteria Plan eliminates non-discrimination testing, but it requires an employer contribution. So on first blush, you would ask, why do it? Well, with the proper design, the Simple Cafeteria Plan can be set up so it actually costs you, the employer, little or nothing. And here's how you can set it up. The normal benefit structure is this. The employer and the employee each pay half of the insurance premium. So if the single insurance premium cost in my example is $400, the employer would pay $200 and the employee would pay $200. But usually the employee is paying this via a pre-tax cafeteria deduction. So graphically, this is how it would work. The insurance premium costs $400, the employer pays $200, employee pays $200, and the employee is paying that with a $200 pre-tax cafeteria deduction. In a Simple Cafeteria Plan, and this is one where you have a 2% simple contribution going in, I'm suggesting that the employer initially would pay none of the insurance premium cost. Instead, the employer would fund the Simple Cafeteria Plan, and the employee would still be out of pocket $200 for his portion of the insurance premium, but would fund the remaining $200 with the employer simple contribution. We're back up to $400. Now with a simple contribution, you might do some math and realize that, well, $200 per month, someone would have to earn $10,000 in gross W-2 wages to generate a $200 a month simple employer contribution. Not too many people earn that kind of money, $10,000 a month. So how in the world is this plan going to work? Well, we can modify the simple contribution formula and still stay within the law. We can say that the formula is the greater of 2% of pay or 50% of the insurance premium. Example, $400. The employee's contribution or compensation is $3,000 per month. 2% of $3,000 is only $60. Not enough to fund the simple the half of the insurance premium. But in our formula, we've modified it. So the formula is the greater of 2% of pay or 50% of the insurance premium, and since that is the greater amount, that is the amount of funding. So graphically, what happens here, the simple contribution comes in, it's the greater of 2% of pay or 50% of the insurance premium. The employee and the employer are no better or worse off. Instead of the employer paying 50% of the premium right off the bat, the employer is funding the simple contribution formula. If there's no difference in the deduction to the employer, no difference in cost to the employee. A couple of cautions. First, all eligible employees, even those who waive your medical coverage, must receive the 2% of pay contribution. And so this could conceivably increase overall benefits costs to the employer. If the employee has no insurance premium because they've waived coverage, say they're covered by their spouse's insurance, then that 2% of pay contribution can be redirected by the employee into another cafeteria benefit, i.e. the medical FSA or the dependent care FSA. Bear in mind that if the employee does not spend all this money going into these flexible spending accounts, that money will forfeit back to the employer. Second caution is that any insurance premium that's run through the cafeteria plan are not eligible for the new small employer tax credit that began in 2010. This has limited applicability because that tax credit, practically speaking, is only available to very small employers that have low average wages. How do you implement? First, I'd suggest that you consult with your insurance broker. And then you will need your broker's help to design the simple contribution formula. It will no doubt be a little bit more complicated than what I have illustrated here because very often the employer contribution to the health plan varies for single employees versus married, etc. Next, you need to amend your cafeteria plan document to include the simple language, and then create any employee communication materials to explain how this new benefit will now work at your company. If you have any questions, my email is right there, Nathan@24hourflex.com. Thank you for joining me.